Hello, dear students. So let's study the essay How Economic Growth Has Become Anti Life, written by Vandana Shiva. And I think already you know about the writer Vandana Shiva. She is the greatest environmentalist, naturalist, and her one more essay you had studied in your plus 2 level. Now, this essay tells us about how human beings are concentrating on earning and how they are spoiling the nature and how they want to convert the pure nature into cash, so on and so forth. This essay is really wonderful. So let's study. As you can see there, uh, the words he uses is limitless growth of human beings, right? Limitless growth is the fantasy of economists. As you know, fantasy means imagination. Okay, that is another thing. That means they think imaginarily that growth is the fantasy by the economists, we may say business people or politicians, right? It's seen as a measure of progress. See, what is seen as a measure of progress? Growth is seen as a measure of progress, right? As a result, gross domestic product, we may say GDP, right? GDP, which is supposed to measure the wealth of nations, has emerged as both the most powerful number and dominant concept in our times. What is dominant concept? GDP. As you all being the students of the present India, you know to what extent GDP the people highlight in their life. Every day there will not be a statement without GDP by some economists, we may say by some financial expert. So every day at least one leader of any country uses the word GDP. So totally GDP, he says our GDP is greater, your GDP is not greater, like that. So almost all the economists concentrate on developing the GDP. That's what it's the most powerful number as we think. It is imagination completely. Yeah. However, economic growth hides the poverty it creates. That's the truth. We all need to understand. This economic growth hides the poverty it creates. Okay, how? Let's see. Through the destruction of nature. Yeah, this is what the worst kind of activity by the human beings. He is destructing nature, and through which he is creating the growth, but that destruction creates poverty that is unknown to many of us. Yes, which in turn leads to communities lacking the capacity to provide for themselves. This is almost the statement is very much inbuilt with many tides of meanings, we may say. Yeah, all those by destruction of nature, communities means all the people here, we may say. All the people in turn they lack their own capacity to provide food for themselves, we may say, to provide some extraordinary strength for themselves, so on and so forth. The concept of growth was put forward as a measure to mobilize resources during the Second World War. So, this concept of growth was put forth at the time of Second World War to mobilize resources. There were so much resources, especially in the forward countries, what we call now advanced countries. They started thinking that we have to mobilize resources, whatever we have. Resources means the like the human resource, or we may say natural resource. There are many a kind of natural resources, for example forest, water, okay, and especially animals. These are all natural resources. All those things must be used. That's what the concept it has born at the time of the Second World War. GDP is based on, see again it is here, GDP is based on creating an artificial and fictitious boundary, assuming that if you produce what you consume, you do not produce. This statement is really wonderful. If you produce what you eat, simply to be said is, if you produce what you eat, you are not at all contributing to the GDP. That's what the concept of GDP. So it creates an artificial as well as fictitious boundary. Fictitious means again imaginary boundary. In that we have to assume that if you produce means if you earn just for the sake of your stomach, if you earn just for the sake of your family, then you are not at all contributing to the development of nation. That's what the concept, but it is almost a we may say false concept. But according to the environmentalists like Undana Shiva, it is a false concept, right? In effect, growth measures the conversion of nature into cash. So this is growth. If you convert some natural thing into cash, means you have to make it, you have to manipulate it, and you have to change its form, and you have to sell it for some cash, then you are earning for the welfare of nature. That's what the concept growth according to economists and commons to commodities. You have to make the use of commons means here common people. We have to convert them into commodities. We have to make them work to do something. So we have to make them work, through that they should earn. By their earning, they contribute towards the growth of nation, towards the growth of GDP. We may say, yes, thus nature's amazing cycles of renewal of water and nutrients are defined into non-productions. Yes, as you know, the students of maybe graduate or undergraduate, okay, you know the cycle, water cycle. Yes, water cycle means water will be there in the form of water in the sources like sea, well, or underground water. So it gets evaporated when it takes the heat from the sun, and it gets evaporated and it goes in the form of vapors in the air. And again at some higher level it again converts itself into the form of cloud, and after some gaining of weight, or we may say capacity, it again comes down in the form of water to the earth. So this is a cycle. So there is no production at all according to economists. So when water and nutrients are not at all confirm, are not at all defined as productive, they are just non-productive. Now let me remind you, in the coming paragraphs the writer is letting us know, is telling us, we may say simply, is telling us what kind of people, what kind of work is called as non-productive. So here it is, the peasants of the world who provide 72% of the food. See, peasants means the people who work in the fields. Without their work, there will not be production of food. But for our surprise, the total number of peasants who work in the world for the purpose of the food in the fields are 72%. They are not at all productive. See, they are not at all productive just because they earn just to eat. That's what. Because of that reason, they are not at all productive. And women who farm or do most of the housework also comes in this category. Yes, as you can see there, they are also not they are also not at all the productive housework women, okay, or the farm hand women are not at all productive, do not fit this paradigm of growth either. You know the meaning of the word paradigm means some fixed frameworks, so some defined structure. So all these women, peasants, water cycle, all these won't fit the paradigm of growth. So what is growth? There is a fixed definition. So these all people will not fit in that definition, right? A living forest, even a living forest is also not at all productive, because it does not contribute to growth, because it just gives oxygen, it just gives shadow. That's what the idea of economists. Okay, if they go beyond that, their thought, without the trees there will not be rain. But that's all again, the different thing, the natural thing. But these economists won't think about that. Does not contribute to growth, but when trees are cut down and sold as timber, we have growth. But when you cut the trees and you sell that tree in the form of timber to some business people, then you will be having a growth. Okay, and here, healthy societies and communities do not contribute to growth. If you are healthy, you won't go to doctor. When you won't go to doctor, then you will not give any money to doctor. Okay, and through you the doctor earns. Because of that reason, the healthy society is not at all productive. Okay, but diseases creates growth through, for example, the sale of patented medicines. So this is a standard kind of worst business, I may say. But patented medicines are fixed. Even if you are coughing, even if you have a fever, if you go to this doctor or that doctor, they will provide you the same kind of medicine with a different name, right? That's how. And I heard somewhere one of my favorite greatest doctor, he says, whenever you will have a illness, okay, you will take pills. But let me tell you, my dear friends, every pill creates another illness. Okay, but be careful. That is another way of living happily. But what economist says that if you are healthy, you won't produce at all. If you are suffering from some diseases, you produce through the through getting or through giving the money to the patent medicines. So next, the peasants of the world. Okay, here again, here this paragraph is repeated. Let us come back here. Water available as commons, shared freely and protected by all. For, okay, see, water available is, it is available for each and everyone. See, it is available for commons, and it is shared freely and protected by all. It provides for all. But however, it does not create growth. Water which will be there in the form of a natural form, naturally, how the water is available naturally, and if that water is available to each and everyone naturally, then it is not at all providing, or then it is not at all contributing to the growth of any country. But when Coca-Cola sets up a plant, see, when Coca-Cola sets up a plant and mines the water, means mining the water means digging the water more and more for filling the bottles, and fills plastic bottles with it, means water, the economy grows. Yes, simply take one bottle of Coca-Cola and take some natural water in your homes, which is very much costly. The Coca-Cola is costly. That is how, if this water is available as a natural source, it is not at all earning. If it is available in the form of some colored water, some flavored water, by having different names, thumbs up, Coca-Cola, so on and so forth, it is almost, for a half liter it is 25 rupees, for a half liter it is zero, which is available at home. See how, this is how, if you want to make the water earn, you have to make it some different color, different taste. So these are the things nowadays the economist says, yeah. But this growth is based on creating poverty. So until now, what Vandana Shiva has told is not at all the point of view of her, but it's the point of view of economists. Now, what she says is, but this growth is based on creating poverty. How? Both for nature and local communities. When you go for digging more and more for water, when you had a plant for the production of Coca-Cola, or say some other kind of drinks, you dig for water for more and more, And when you take all the water which is in the ground, and almost all the area which is surrounded, which will be there in the surrounds, gets no water, or they may lack water. To get the drinking water, they have to go away. So this is what she says in the next coming water extracted beyond nature's capacity to renew and recharge creates water famine. When you take water from the fixed area, extract means taking out. Okay, beyond nature's capacity to renew and recharge. Nature has its own kind of circle of renewing and recharging each and every kind of energy, even water. But when you take it beyond its capacity, there you will create a water famine. Famine means fight or scarcity, right? Then that is how there is a, women are forced to walk longer distances. Yeah, ultimately women are the servers who are going to provide you the basic needs in the homes. So now women have to walk to get some water from far away. Yes, and they have to, looking for drinking water, they have to walk longer distances. Especially one case has a was is there like that. And in the village of Plachimada in Kerala, when the walk for water became 10 kilometers. Okay, you should remember this name. Yeah, in Kerala there is a place called Plachimara where Coca-Cola plant was established. So in that area, women are supposed to go for 10 kilometers to bring the water, drinking water. Especially at that time, local tribal women called Mailamma. This Mailamma, okay, this Mailamma started protest. She says enough is enough. Okay, yeah, it is too much. Whatever you are doing is not good. It's too much. Now stop it. We cannot walk further. The Coca-Cola plant must shut down. The protest, the revolution, okay, the movement started against the Coca-Cola plant there, because it was very difficult for women to bring water just to drink. Just imagine, if you walk 10 kilometers to bring water for drinking. Okay, when you walk 10 kilometers, the water you bring will be drunk by you only. So that will be a harsh reality, we may say. Yes, so she says, and in the leadership of this Mailamma, they all started protesting against the Coca-Cola plant. The moment that the women started eventually led to the closure of the plant. So the meaning of the word led is the past tense of lead. So that moment started by Mailamma and other women eventually led to stop the plant of that Coca-Cola, we may say industry of Coca-Cola. So this is how sometimes you should do something. Yeah, now in the same vein, yeah, let us see, right? Now let us stop here. Let us begin the essay in the next class from this paragraph. Thank you very much.